Hello everyone, we are continuing with the basic rules of Dungeons & Dragons. Let's hop right back in with tiers of play. The shading in the character advancement table shows the 4 tiers of play. The tiers don't have any rules associated with them, they are a general description of how the play experience changes as characters gain levels. In the first tier, levels 1 through 4, characters are effectively apprentice adventurers. They are learning the features that define them as members of particular classes, including the major choices that flavor their class features as they advance, such as the wizard's arcane tradition or a fighter's martial archetype. The threats they face are relatively minor, usually posing a danger to local farmsteads or villages. In the second tier, levels 5 to 10, characters come into their own. Many spellcasters gain access to 3rd level spells at the start of this tier, crossing a new threshold of magical power with spells such as Firewall and Lightning Bolt. At this tier, many weapon-using classes gain the ability to make multiple attacks in one round. These characters have become important, facing dangers that threaten cities and kingdoms. In the third tier, levels 11 through 16, characters have reached a level of power that sets them high above the ordinary populace, and makes them special even among adventurers. At 11th level, many spellcasters gain access to 6th level spells, some of which create effects previously impossible for player characters to achieve. Other characters gain features that allow them to make more attacks or do more impressive things with those attacks. These mighty adventurers often confront threats to whole regions and continents. At the 4th tier, levels 17 to 20, characters achieve the pinnacle of their class features, becoming heroic or villainous archetypes in their own right. The fate of the world, or even the fundamental order of the multiverse, might hang in the balance during their adventures. And here we have the character advancement table. Alright, back up. Let's check out, excuse me, let's check out Chapter 2. Races. Oop, there we go. A visit to one of the great cities in the worlds of Dungeons & Dragons, Waterdeep, the free city of Greyhawk, or even uncanny Sigil, the city of doors, overwhelms the senses. Voices chatter in countless different languages. The smells of cooking in dozens of different cuisines mingle with the odors of crowded streets and poor sanitation. Buildings in myriad architectural styles display the diverse origins of their inhabitants. And the people themselves, people of varying size, shape, and color, dressed in a dazzling spectrum of styles and hues, represent many different races, from diminutive halflings and stout dwarves to majestically beautiful elves, mingling among a variety of human ethnicities. Scattered among the members of these more common races are the true exotics, a hulking dragonborn here, pushing his way through the crowd, a sly tiefling there, lurking in the shadows with mischief in her eyes. A group of gnomes laughs as one of them activates a clever wooden toy that moves of its own accord. Half-elves and half-orcs live and work alongside humans, without fully belonging to the races of either parents. And there, well out of the sunlight, is a lone drow, a fugitive from the subterranean expanse of the Underdark, trying to make his way in a world that fears his kind. Choosing a race. Humans are the most common people in the worlds of Dungeons & Dragons, but they live and work alongside dwarves, elves, halflings, and countless other fantastic species. Your character belongs to one of these peoples. Not every intelligent race of the multiverse is appropriate for a player-controlled adventurer. Dwarves, elves, halflings, and humans are the most common races to produce the sort of adventurers who make up typical parties. Dragonborn, gnomes, half-elves, half-orcs, and tieflings are less common as adventurers. Drow, a subrace of elves, are also uncommon. Your choice of race affects many of your aspects of your character. It establishes fundamental qualities that exist throughout your character's adventuring career. When making this decision, keep in mind the kind of character you want to play. For example, a halfling could be a good choice for a sneaky rogue, a dwarf makes a tough warrior, and an elf can be a master of arcane magic. Your character race not only affects your ability scores and traits, but also provides the cues for building your character story. Each race's description in the section includes information to help you roleplay a character of that race, including personality, physical appearance, features of society, and racial alignment tendencies. These details are suggestions to help you think about your character. Adventurers can deviate widely from the norm for the race. It's worthwhile to consider why your character is different, as a helpful way to think about your character's background and personality. Racial traits. The description of each race includes racial traits that are common to members of that race. The following entries appear among the traits of most races. Ability score increase. Each race increases one or more of the character's ability scores. Age. The age entry notes the age when a member of the race is considered an adult, as well as the race's expected lifespan. This information can help you decide how old your character is at the start of the game. You can choose any age for your character, which could provide an explanation for some of your ability scores. For example, if you play a young or very old character, your age could explain a particularly low strength or constitution score, while advanced age could account for a high intelligence or wisdom. Alignment. Most races have tendencies towards certain alignments described in this entry. These are not binding for player characters, but considering why your dwarf is chaotic, for example, in defiance of lawful dwarf society, can help you better define your character. Size. Most characters of most races are medium, a size category including creatures that are roughly 4 to 8 feet tall. Members of a few races are small, between 2 and 4 feet tall, which means that certain rules of the game affect them differently. The most important of these rules is that small characters have trouble wielding heavy weapons, as explained in the equipment section. Speed. Your speed determines how far you can move when traveling, adventuring, and fighting combat. Languages. By virtue of your race, your character can speak, read, and write certain languages. Personality and background lists the most common languages of the D&D multiverse. Subraces. Some races have subraces. Members of a subrace have the traits of the parent race in addition to the traits specified for the subrace. Relationships among subraces vary significantly from race to race and world to world. In the Dragonlance campaign setting, for example, mountain dwarves and hill dwarves live together as different clans of the same people, but in the Forgotten Realms, they live far apart in separate kingdoms and call themselves shield dwarves and gold dwarves, respectively. Alright, now we get to the actual races. Dwarf. Kingdoms rich in ancient grandeur, halls carved into the roots of mountains, the echoing of picks and hammers in deep mines and blazing forges, a commitment to clan and tradition, and a burning hatred of goblins and orcs. These common threads unite all dwarves. Short and stout. Bold and hardy, dwarves are known as skilled warriors, miners, and workers of stone and metal. Though they stand well under 5 feet tall, dwarves are so broad and compact that they can weigh as much as a human standing nearly 2 feet taller. Their courage and endurance are also easily a match for any of the larger folk. Dwarven skin ranges from deep brown to a paler hue tinged with red, but the most common shades are light brown or deep tan, like certain tones of earth. Their hair, worn long but in simple styles, is usually black, gray, or brown, though paler dwarves often have red hair. Male dwarves value their beards highly and groom them carefully. Long memory, long grudges. Dwarves can live to be more than 400 years old, so the oldest living dwarves often remember a very different world. For example, some of the oldest dwarves living in Citadel Felbar, in the world of the Forgotten Realms, can recall the day more than 3 centuries ago when orcs conquered the fortress and drove them into an exile that lasted over 250 years. This longevity grants them a perspective on the world that shorter-lived races such as humans and halflings lack. Dwarves are solid and enduring like the mountains they love, weathering the passage of centuries with stoic endurance and little change. They respect the traditions of their clans, tracing their ancestry back to the founding of their most ancient strongholds in the youth of the world, and don't abandon these traditions lightly. Part of these traditions is devotion to the gods of the dwarves, who uphold the dwarven ideals of industrious labor, skill in battle, and devotion to the forge. Individual dwarves are determined and loyal, true to their word and decisive in action, sometimes to the point of stubbornness. Many dwarves have a strong sense of justice, and they are slow to forget the wrongs they have suffered. A wrong done to one dwarf is a wrong done to the dwarf's entire clan, so what begins as one dwarf's hunt for vengeance can become a full-blown clan feud. Clans and kingdoms. Dwarven kingdoms stretch deep beneath the mountains, where the dwarves mine gems and precious metals and forge items of wonder. They love the beauty and artistry of precious metals and fine jewelry, and in some dwarves this love festers into avarice. Whatever wealth they can't find in their mountains they gain through trade. They dislike boats, so enterprising humans and halflings frequently trade in dwarven goods along water routes. Trustworthy members of other races are welcome in dwarf settlements, though some areas are off-limits even to them. The chief unit of dwarven society is the clan, and dwarves highly value social standing. Even dwarves who live far from their own kingdoms cherish their clan identities and affiliations, recognize related dwarves, and invoke their ancestors' names in oaths and curses. To be clanless is the worst fate that can befall a dwarf. Dwarves in other lands are typically artisans, especially weaponsmiths, armorers, and jewelers. Some become mercenaries or bodyguards, highly sought after for their courage and loyalty. God's Golden Clan. Dwarves who take up the adventuring life might be motivated by a desire for treasure, for its own sake, for specific purpose, or even out of an altruistic desire to help others. Other dwarves are driven by the command or inspiration of a deity, a direct calling, or simply a desire to bring glory to one of the dwarf gods. Clan and ancestry are also important motivators. A dwarf might seek to restore a clan's lost honor, avenge an ancient wrong the clan suffered, or earn a new place within the clan after having been exiled. Or a dwarf might search for the axe wielded by a mighty ancestor, lost in the field of battle centuries ago. Dwarf names. A dwarf name is generated by a clan elder in accordance with tradition. Every proper dwarven name has been used and reused down through the 8 generations. A dwarf's name belongs to the clan, not to the individual. A dwarf who misuses or brings shames to a clan name is stripped of the name and forbidden by law to use any dwarven name in its place. And we have a list of names and clan names. Dwarf traits. Your dwarf character has an assortment of inborn abilities, part and parcel of dwarven nature. Ability score increase. Your constitution score increases by 2. Age. Dwarves mature at the same rate as humans, but they're considered young until they reach the age of 50. On average, they live about 350 years. Alignment. Most dwarves are lawful, believing firmly in the benefits of a well-ordered society. They tend towards good as well, with a strong sense of fair play and a belief that everyone deserves to share in the benefits of a just order. Size. Dwarves stand between 4 and 5 feet tall and average about 150 pounds. Your size is medium. Speed. Your base walking speed is 25 feet. Your speed is not reduced by wearing heavy armor. Dark vision. Accustomed to life underground, you have superior vision in dark and dim conditions. You can see in dim light within 60 feet of you as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it were dim light. You can't discern color in darkness, only shades of gray. Dwarven resilience. You have advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have resistance against poison damage, explained in Chapter 9, Combat. Dwarven combat training. You have proficiency with the battle axe, hand axe, light hammer, and warhammer. Tool proficiency. You gain proficiency with the artisan's tools of your choice, smith's tools, brewer's supplies, or mason's tools. Stone cunning. Whenever you make an intelligence history check related to the origin of stonework, you are considered proficient in the history skill and add double your proficiency bonus to the check, instead of your normal proficiency bonus. Languages. You can speak, read, and write Common and Dwarvish. Dwarvish is full of hard consonants and guttural sounds, and these characteristics spill over to whatever other language a dwarf might speak. Subrace. There are two main subraces of dwarves populate the world of D&D. Hill dwarves and mountain dwarves. Choose one of these subraces. Hill dwarf. Ability score increase. Your wisdom score increases by 1, and dwarven toughness. Your hit point maximum increases by 1 and increases by 1 every time you gain a level. As a hill dwarf, you have keen senses, deep intuition, and remarkable resilience. The gold dwarves of Faerun and their mighty southern kingdoms are hill dwarves, as are the exiled Nadar and the debased clan of Kryn in the Dragonlance setting. Mountain dwarf. As a mountain dwarf, you're strong and hardy, accustomed to difficult life in a rugged terrain. You're probably on the tall side for a dwarf, and tend towards lighter coloration. The shield dwarves of northern Faerun, as well as the ruling Hylar clan and the noble Daiwar clan of Dragonlance, are mountain dwarves. Ability score increase. Your strength score increases by 2, and you have dwarven armor training, which grants you proficiency with light and medium armor. Elves. Elves are a magical people of otherworldly grace, living in the world but not entirely part of it. They live in places of ethereal beauty, in the midst of ancient forests, or in silvery spires glittering with fairy light, where soft music drifts through the air and gentle fragrances waft on the breeze. Waft? Elves love nature and magic, art and artistry, music and poetry, and the good things of the world. Slender and graceful. With their unearthly grace and fine features, elves appear hauntingly beautiful to humans and members of many other races. They are slightly shorter than humans on average, ranging from well under 5 feet tall to just over 6 feet. They are more slender than humans, weighing only 100 to 145 pounds. Males and females are about the same height, and males are only marginally heavier than females. Elves' coloration encompasses the normal human range, and also includes skin in shades of copper, bronze, and almost bluish white, hair of green or blue, and eyes like pools of liquid gold or silver. Elves have no facial and little body hair. They favor elegant clothing and bright colors, and they enjoy simple yet lovely jewelry. A timeless perspective. Elves can live well over 700 years, giving them a broad perspective of events that might trouble the shorter-lived races more deeply. They are more often amused than excited, and more likely to be curious than greedy. They tend to remain aloof and unfazed by petty happenstance. When pursuing a goal, however, whether adventuring in a mission or learning a new skill or art, elves can be focused and relentless. They are slow to make friends and enemies, and even slower to forget them. They reply to petty insults with disdain, and to serious insults with vengeance. Like the branches of a young tree, elves are flexible in the face of danger. They trust in diplomacy and compromise to resolve differences before they escalate to violence. They have been known to retreat from intrusions into their woodland homes, confident that they can simply wait the invaders out. But when the need arises, elves reveal a stern martial side, demonstrating skill with sword, bow, and strategy. Hidden woodland realms. Most elves dwell in small forest villages hidden among the trees. Elves hunt game, gather food, and grow vegetables, and their skill and magic allow them to support themselves without the need for clearing and plowing land. They are talented artisans, crafting finely worked clothes and art objects. Their contact with outsiders is usually limited, though a few elves make a good living by trading crafted items for metals, which they have no interest in mining. Elves encountered outside their own lands are commonly traveling minstrels, artists, or sages. Human nobles compete for the services of elf instructors to teach swordplay or magic to their children. Exploration and adventure. Elves take up adventuring out of wanderlust, since they are wanderlust. Since they are so long-lived, they can enjoy centuries of exploration and discovery. They dislike the pace of human society, which is regimented from day to day, but constantly changing over decades, so they find careers that let them travel and set their own pace. Elves also enjoy exercising their martial prowess or gaining greater magical power, and adventuring allows them to do so. Some might join with rebels fighting against oppression, and others might become champions of moral causes. Elf names. Elves are considered children until they declare themselves adults, sometime after the 100th birthday, and before this period they are called by child names. On declaring adulthood, an elf selects an adult name, although those who knew him or her as a youngster might continue to use the child's name. Each elf's adult name is a unique creation, though it might reflect the names of respected individuals or other family members. Little distinction exists between male names and female names. The groupings here reflect only general tendencies. In addition, every elf bears a family name, typically a combination of other elvish words. Some elves traveling among humans translate their family names into common, but others retain the elvish version. And we have a list of names. Elf traits. Your elf character has a variety of natural abilities, the result of thousands of years of elven refinement. Ability score increase. Your dexterity score increases by 2. Age. Although elves reach physical maturity at about the same age as humans, the elven understanding of adulthood goes beyond physical growth to encompass worldly experience. An elf typically claims adulthood and an adult name around the age of 100 and can live to be 750 years old. Alignment. Elves love freedom, variety, and self-expression, so they lean strongly towards the gentler aspects of chaos. They value and protect others' freedoms as well as their own, and they are more often good than not. The Drow are an exception. Their exile into the Underdark has made them vicious and dangerous. Drow are more often evil than not. Size. Elves range from under 5 feet to over 6 feet tall and have slender builds. Your size is medium. Speed. Your base walking speed is 30 feet. Dark vision. Accustomed to twilight forests in the night sky, you have superior vision in dark and dim conditions. You can see in dim light within 60 feet of you as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it were dim light. You can't discern color in darkness, only shades of gray. Keen senses. You have proficiency in the perception skill. Fey ancestry. You have advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic can't put you to sleep. Trance. Elves don't need to sleep. Instead, they meditate deeply, remaining semi-conscious for 4 hours a day. The common word for such meditation is trance. While meditating, you can dream after a fashion. Such dreams are actually mental exercises that have become reflective through years of practice. After resting in this way, you gain the same benefit that a human does from 8 hours of sleep. Languages. You can speak, read, and write Common and Elvish. Elvish is fluid, with subtle intonations and intricate grammar. Elven literature is rich and varied, and their songs and poems are famous among other races. Many bards learn their language so they can add Elvish ballads to their repertoires. Subrace. Ancient divides among the Elven people resulted in 3 main subraces: High Elves, Wood Elves, and Dark Elves, who are commonly called Drow. Choose one of these subraces. In some worlds, these subraces are divided still further, such as the Sun Elves and Moon Elves of the Forgotten Realms. So if you wish, you can choose a narrow subrace. And I think, I think I'm going to call it right there. We'll go over the subraces for elves next time. Thank you so very much for reading along with me today. If you wouldn't mind giving the channel a subscribe and the video a like, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so very much, and you have a wonderful day.